They were down at halftime.
Yeah, they were. They have no receivers. They got one receiver.
No, they
in the
have
crib.
receivers. I surprisingly, Georgia can't run the ball.
Until after halftime.
Yeah.
Look,
So
I'll defend what Streeter said. He did say week one. You know what I'm saying? They would have played in week one. He would have put his money on Florida State. I 100% disagree with him on that, but that's what he said. I don't think Florida State won't damn parts of Georgia at any time of the season. But that was what he said.
Georgia, and I watch a lot of Georgia because Carson Beck was one of our guys on the other side of the company. So I watched Georgia whole entire game. Georgia's struggling to run the ball. They are struggling to run the ball. Arguably, it's like they don't have one of those guys back there that they've had in the past. And I think the one that they have is coming off of injury.
Yeah,
that's odd.
Quick question, Street.
Number 30.
Take a wild guess. Who do you think what school do you think between Georgia and Miami got a running back in the top 40 in rushing yards?
I know it ain't Georgia.
Yeah, it's not. It's Miami. Harris is 40th in America with 192 yards. Yeah.
No, I know it's not Georgia. I often should be top 20 or top 10. I often should be top something in America.
Yeah, you missed that segment. Xavier Restrepo by 1 yard.
No, yeah, I was listening.
Yeah, number 3 receiver in America.
We tweeted that last night.
Did we?
Yeah, I tweeted that he's number 3 in America. And number 1 is the kid from Ohio. I think. Listen, I think all those things are something to be proud of. I think it's early. You know what I'm saying? I do. I also would like to see Restrepo's targets. Like Restrepo gets a high volume of targets too. I think he had Harrison by 5 or something like that. He had, you know what I'm saying? I've been talking to y'all about Restrepo for years. I don't know how to explain. Like I don't know how to explain. He plays football. You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you a Street. I ask Kyle, ask Rich. Is Restrepo the best receiver in the ACC?
That's in the ACC. Man, when you say best, man, like what does best mean?
I'm asking if he's the best. Some people say
he has the most yards, right? He has the most yards.
Yeah, he has the most yards. He has no touchdowns. I saw somebody. I responded to a comment I responded to a comment on his interview video. He was like, "Man, it's crazy. He lead the team in receiving yards and no touchdowns." I was like, "It's called being selfless." Maybe you should learn what that is. Like,
responding to the comment on what happened
on Xavier Restrepo's post-game interview, someone said it's ridiculous that he got the most receiving yards on the team, but he has no touchdowns. And I'm like, it's called being selfless. He's a chess piece. Like I said, he's the same way I talk about James on defense and Akeem Mesidor. He's a chess piece. And you know, Kyle was talking about, oh well, you know, he's not getting doubled. I'm like, you usually don't double slot receivers. That's the chess piece.
They actually do. They get double. But see, what happens is it depends on what you're doing, right? You couldn't double Wes Welker often because of Randy Moss. You know what I'm saying? But you saw Julian Edelman get doubled. You saw him get doubled in Super Bowls because they know, okay, that's your attack point. We got to stop that. So it does happen, but Mehdi was correct. You don't do it often. You know what I'm saying? And some of your boundary corners, they don't travel. So you have those slot guys working one-on-one. But if a guy's if he's your number one, Pittsburgh used to do this with Antonio Brown. They would move him into the slot to get those matchups that Mehdi's talking about. But you still would double him. You still would bracket him. You know what I'm saying? So what's going to allow what's going to allow Restrepo to do what Restrepo does is because if you bracket anybody, you're going to bracket Kobe Young on the other side. You may pay extra attention to George, but you're going to leave Restrepo one-on-one all game. You know what I'm saying? And you're not going to, I don't want to get too deep in it because it sounds like I'm down in X, but I think Rich said it best. He's the most productive receiver in the ACC. Let's put it that way.
And
I don't think he is. Wait up, Rich. Rick, I'm not going to let you dig a bigger hole.
Go ahead.
I don't think he is.
Go ahead, Mr. Texas A&M.
Oh, my bad.
I don't think he is. I don't think
My
he
bad.
is. I mean, Louisville got a guy, Jamari Thrash, 14, 329, and 4 touchdowns.
Never heard.
How many catches X got?
Oh no, hey, yeah, Rich, he's like that. He's the entire offense.
17.
How many catches X got, Betty? 17.
Is he?
Yeah.
17.
He's like that.
17.
He's
There's
from
guy. There's
I mean, look at Larvin.
But can I say this though?
Jamari Thrash from Miami.
But can I say this? Can I say this?
Uh-huh.
Who is that? Who is that guy? When we just talk about productivity, who is that guy sharing balls with? Like X got to share balls with two guys that are probably better than he is, and he still got 17 catches, and you know what I mean. He's extremely productive. So I don't know.
He's from LaGrange, Georgia. Yeah, you're right. I don't know how to explain it. Like, okay, so even on the team, the best receiver we have, probably pure receiver we have, is probably Jacoby George, right? Kobe Young probably has the most upside. X is the most productive. Like he's the most productive. You know what I'm saying? And we try to put these things in lanes, right? And measure them. He's the most productive, and because of that, I bet you he has the most targets. But as far as talent wise, Jacoby
fairly even.
Huh?
They're actually fairly even. That's what
impressed.
Yeah, that's what impressed me about Tyler this year is that he's not just dependent on X. He's targeting everybody at a fairly even clip.
Man.
So is it you say fairly? X is in the lead, though, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
okay. All right.
But it's like 5 to 10 targets, you know, between the three of them. It's like it's not that massive lead. He just does more with the ball when he gets it in space. Does that make sense?
Some of these guys on his list, bro, have 25 receptions, 27, 28 receptions. So I don't know how you gauge it. I know that I wouldn't trade Restrepo for a lot of guys. And it just goes back to the history of me watching him produce. That's it. The history of me watching him produce. And he makes it happen, bro. I mean, and
he does.
There's something in football called a football player, and that's what he is. He's a football player. Western Kentucky has a guy named Malachi Corley. He's a football player. Like he's just a football player. Like he produces on the football field. I think the same thing Brandon Ennis will end up being. Just a guy that he's going to just make it happen. Won't be the fastest. Won't be the strongest. He just makes it. He makes it happen.
But let me ask you this question, Street. You say that Brandon Ennis will be in the mold, or he can become in that mold of X.
Mm-hmm.
But why? So X was a 3-star, Ennis was a 5-star.
Mm-hmm.
Is it purely because Ennis was doing it since he was in 8th grade playing on a varsity team that he was a 5-star, or is it another intangible? Is it height? What is it that makes
Street? We just talked about
X
this
3-star
on the phone like 2 days ago.
Right.
These two people.
Ennis a 5-star.
What is it that makes X a 3-star and Ennis a 5-star? First of all,
because they're gonna play the same role on the team.
Yeah, first of all, it's not coming from a computer. It's coming from a subjective platform of somebody who feels that this is what we think a 3-star is and a 5-star is. So when you start asking that question, you have to actually go like what made him give Duke his 5th star like late in his career when I saw it as a 9th grader. Like he saw it as a sophomore, he was a 5-star. So that's their perception of how things is. Now, Brandon Ennis is bigger than X. Mm-hmm. He's larger than X, and he came up in a 7-on-7 climate to where you were able to see him.
Yeah.
They could see him up front. You know what I'm saying? They could see him every weekend somewhere playing against somebody at some big tournament, and they see that he can go from the offense to the defense.
Yeah.
I saw Brandon Ennis in Atlanta Stadium where the Falcons play championship the damn 7-on-7 championship. They put him in on defense. They didn't start him because he wasn't supposed to play for that team. He came late for South Florida Express. He sat on the bench. He didn't give a fuck. They put him in the game. He produced. They put him in on defense at the end of the game. The first play they put him in on defense, he took the ball from the quarterback, gave his team the ball back.
Breaking news. The stats updated on NCAA. So X is not the number 3 receiver in America.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he's down to 16. But that the page didn't refresh till I was on here.
But he was last night. I mean, go to the Twitter. Yeah.
But
yeah. He was last night.
You know, still number 1.
Huh?
You know, still number 1.
Who?
The kid from Miami, Ohio.
Laverdane, yeah. He got 449 receptions. 449 yards and 18 receptions and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, they just updated
like
it. They
Dale,
just updated
actually.
it. Huh?
Larvadan looks like Tank Dell.
Yeah, they just updated that, bro. Late 11 o'clock last night, I posted this same ESPN thing. X was number 3.
Yeah, it said updated at 3:21, but it just didn't update on my computer, which is crazy because I just opened the website. But
and that's why the guy Jamari Trash is hired. That's how I saw that he was higher than him. From Louisville. He's the most productive, though. There's not too many football players I take over from. I mean, just put it that way, bro.
But y'all know the question about Ennis versus Restrepo is sometimes it's simple. We don't have to dig too much into it. Why one's a 5 and one's a 3. One can do more than the other. Like, they may have the same base. You know what I'm saying? They go out and they both football players, but one can simply do more than the other. Ennis can do a lot more than Restrepo can. It's kind of just that simple. And that's not a knock on Restrepo. We're built different. We're all, we're built different. We have different body types, different speeds, and it's just that simple. That's all.
No, it's
still
still
2 guys you want on your team.
But I guess so. When they see a guy like Kobe, right? Kobe Young, Kobe's 6'5", so they're automatically going to say, well, Kobe has more upside than the other receivers, right? Because he's 6'5". That's something you can't coach. Okay, they don't even. The reason they do that though is because they're projecting him to the NFL. They're like, what do NFL receivers look like? And based on those measurables, right? They're saying he's a higher rated guy. Now, when we start talking about what you can do for a team, that's way different because we saw last night with Travis Hunter getting the wind knocked out of him. It's going to become a point where you're going to have to become a specialist at a certain position. We even seen it happen with Devin Hester because you're going to have to be counted on to make a difference at something. You're going to have to be a specialist. With Restrepo is always going to return kicks, always going to be on special teams, not only at the college level, but also in the NFL. He's also always going to be in the slot, not only in the college level, but in the NFL. Do we see, when we start to talk about all the things you can do for a team, when they make those comparisons, I don't think it would be Ennis would have to be just as good at Restrepo at fair catches as him in order to be utilized on special teams as he progresses in his career and as he goes to the next level.